Welcome back, friends. This is episode 26 of our glitch in the Matrix stories. If you're new and like this type of content, or unusual and creepy stories, make sure to subscribe as we do this several times a week. Thank you so much for listening. First glitch. My boyfriend and I decided to do our weekly grocery shopping at Wilson's supermarket. That's where we always go. We're pretty much creatures of habit when it comes to our shopping. He grabs the veggies. I head straight for the snacks. Anyway, he'd been feeling a bit under the weather, so he asked me to pick up some canned soup. Easy enough, right? Well, the soup aisle had other plans. We walked into the aisle and man, it was like stepping into some tomato soup lover's fever dream. The entire stretch, I'm talking a good 50 feet or more, was stocked top to bottom with only the same cans of store-brand tomato soup. No chicken noodle, no clam chowder, nada, just cans and cans of tomato. Man, this has got to be some kind of promo stunt or something, I joked, remembering the time I couldn't find my favorite brand of chips in the store because of some absurd promotional thing they had going on. But my boyfriend, he looked pale. "This isn't right," he murmured. Puzzled, I flagged down a passing employee, a young woman with a badge that read, Lila. "Hey, Lila," I said, trying to sound nonchalant, but probably failing miserably. "Got any other soup in stock? My guy's not much for tomatoes." I tilted my head toward the endless sea of red cans. She looked a bit surprised. "Of course," she replied, gesturing to the aisle. "We've got a whole range." My boyfriend and I exchanged a baffled look. Lila led us back to the very same aisle, but, and here's where things get Twilight Zone level weird, it wasn't just tomato soup anymore. I swear, dude, there were dozens of different varieties, like it had always been that way. Creamy mushroom, beef broth, you name it. Lila, still smiling, pointed out a few popular options and then moved on. We were left staring at the cans, and then at each other. Did we just have a shared hallucination or something? I whispered, half joking. So we grabbed a few cans of chicken noodle and went on our way. If I had been alone, I would have chalked it up to a weird brain fart, but my boyfriend saw the same thing. Next glitch. Just over a year ago, I started a new job. Just warehouse stuff, nothing big or important. Pay is good, the people are nice. I get along well with everyone, and I don't hate going to work. It's all good. On my second day of work, my brother comes up to me, he works there and got me the job, and tells me someone has been bitching about my attitude. This is a common complaint from people. I'm pretty sarcastic and blunt a lot of the time, and people who don't know me think I'm being serious. So I kind of just roll my eyes and ask who's been whining. Apparently some guy in his late 40s was working next to me and I did something wrong. An easy mistake for someone to make who's been working there for 2 days. He told me to stop doing it, but I completely ignored him and carried on. He told me again, I ignored him and carried on. His friend told me stop. I ignored him and carried on. I then walked off without saying anything. So this is so completely and hilariously out of character for me that it wouldn't happen in a million years. I wouldn't just ignore two people talking to me, and I certainly wouldn't ignore two people yelling at me. Also, when my brother pointed out the two people who were apparently talking to me, I had never worked near them or even on the same floor as them. The first guy who complained had only relayed this info to my brother as your brother, so I just assumed he was mistaken and thought someone else was my brother's brother, despite us looking pretty distinctive and similar, and I kind of forgot about it. When I'd worked there longer, I realized the thing I had been doing wrong, which caused such butt hurt, shouldn't have even been possible in the first place. So whoever it was who was ignoring people and fucking up had somehow performed a task that shouldn't have been possible on our computer system. Again, I just chalked it up to the guy being a dumbass and thinking someone else was me, but that's not all. A few months ago, a girl who started after me comes up to the top floor of the building and gives me a replacement part I had apparently ordered for a faulty computer. She just casually walks up and gives it to me while I stare blankly at her. "Didn't you just call down for this?" I tell her, "No, I've been working this whole time and all my equipment is working fine." She tells me that someone called down, used my name and requested a replacement. There weren't that many people on that floor. There's no one there with a name that's even similar to mine. It couldn't have been from another floor. Who the hell requested it? They would have had to use my computer's number too, and they would have told them the floor number. If it was a practical joke, it was a pretty shit one. At the end of the day, once my friend comes up to me and asks me what I was doing walking around on his floor. I hadn't been off my floor for the entire day. I just think he mistook me for my brother or something, but he hadn't been off the floor either, and he tells me other people had seen me on other floors too. If it's just a case of mistaken identity, it doesn't make much sense either. I am taller than pretty much everyone there. I have shoulder-length, long blonde hair and blue eyes. I'm pretty big as well as tall, not fat. So I'm pretty frickin' distinctive. My brother looks like me apart from the obvious difference of being a few inches shorter and having short hair, so you'd have to have really bad eyesight not to be able to tell us apart. What I'm saying is even if you saw me from behind or far away, you'd be able to identify me. All of these incidents seem to be separate things, and I didn't link them to each other until later, in that they all have the common theme of mistaken identity. I kinda looked back at them and thought they're pretty weird coincidences or whatever. But I also remembered another weird one from years ago when I was a teenager. I was working at a Burger King and I often had to deal with drunk idiots or just idiots asking for kebabs with gravy, beer, or Big Macs. One time these army guys come up and flash me their cards. Discount nice. One of them seems super friendly. The other one gives me a funny look and goes, "Haha, hey man, how did you get down here so quickly?" I ask him what he's talking about and he goes, "We were served by you earlier at Burger King." He says some city name, I forgot, frickin' hundreds of miles away. "Don't you remember?" I'm confused as hell and ask him if he's referring to the other Burger King on site, which is called the drive-thru, despite not actually being a drive-thru. He gives me a weird look again, looks almost upset and pissed off, and sharply says, "No, it was you. I'm sure we were served by you. Do you work in two places or something?" His buddy looks really fucking awkward now and gives me this, "What the fuck is my friend smoking?" look. And the other guy just shuts up but awkwardly stares at me and the counter mumbling something under his breath. I serve them both and they go away. And finally, going back even more years, when we were children, my brother often said he saw me at night walking around even though I was still in bed. One time he spoke to me when I went to the bathroom and he waited for me to come out, but I never did. When he went to the bathroom, there was no one in there. Next glitch. So I'm a bit rattled and not sure where to start. Every evening after work, I take the same shortcut home, which involves going through this railway underpass. It's pretty basic, just some stairs down, a short walk, and stairs up to the other side. In between, just a few lights and a bit of graffiti. Last night, though, things got weird. I was pretty beat from work and just wanted to get home. The underpass felt the same when I was heading down the stairs. You know, a bit chilly and dimly lit. But once I hit the bottom, man, I can't explain it properly, but it looked like it went on for miles. And not in a I'm tired and seeing things kind of way. It was just endless. The worst part was this dark thing I saw way in the distance. It wasn't just dark, but like a moving darkness, like it was coming for me, advancing rapidly up the corridor. I freaked the hell out. Didn't think, just bolted back up those stairs faster than I ever have. When I got out, everything seemed normal. The underpass looked like usual. I even hung around for a few minutes, from a distance, to see if anyone else noticed anything. But nope, just regular people walking through. That's okay if you don't believe me. I'm not sure I believe it myself. Next glitch. Look, I'm like wake up, grind, hit the gym, rinse and repeat. My routine is so predictable you could set your watch by it, benching, squatting, deadlifting, the whole 9 yards. But yeah, what happened last Thursday messed me up. Seriously, man, listen. I had just finished my workout, you know, the one that makes you feel like you're gonna see the light at the end of the tunnel. My muscles were screaming for mercy, but in a good way. I head to the locker room, just me and this other guy, Gary. I know because we give the obligatory hey as we cross paths. He's a regular, kind of lanky, but keeps to himself. He's over by the sinks, fumbling with his contact lens case. I go to my locker, number 23, my lucky number since high school, and that's when I notice it. My bag's gone. My clothes, my keys, my phone, all AWOL. I'm standing there in my soaked gym clothes, and I can't even call an Uber because my phone's in the bag, right? So I go full Sherlock, scanning every inch of the place while trying not to seem like a weirdo. Maybe I put it in the wrong locker? Nah, impossible. I've been using 23 since the days when gym selfies weren't even a thing. Finally, I ask Gary, "Hey man, you seen a black Nike duffel around?" Says he didn't see a thing, and I believe him. Guy's too busy trying to get his contact lenses in. And as I said, I kinda know him. He's a good man. He wouldn't lie or steal a bag. I'm weighing my options, which are looking slim to none, when I turn back to my locker. And there it is. My bag. Right in locker 23. Like it's been there all along. But then I unzip it, and everything is folded. My jeans, my shirt, even my frickin' socks. And I don't mean tossed in there folded. I mean like somebody's OCD grandma took her sweet time to iron and fold them. I look up and Gary's gone. Must have bailed while I was knee-deep in my existential crisis. No witnesses, no proof, just me in this bag that defies the laws of, I don't know, reality. You tell me, man, what would you do? 'Cause right now, even though I've got my stuff back, I feel like something's been taken from me. I feel like I've lost my bearings. And that, my friend, is the kind of weight I'm not sure how to lift. Hey, we're about mid-flight, and I thought I'd check on you. I hope you enjoy this episode so far. If you do, hit that like button. That'd be awesome. Thanks for listening. Next glitch. I am very happy to have come across this thread because I've had several glitchy incidents in my life and am very glad to read that others have as well. One that comes to mind happened when I was living in England in 2002. My husband and I were driving around the B-roads of Suffolk in our tiny Vauxhall Cavalier when we stopped for errands. We got back in the car and he handed me his wallet to put under the dash because we'd need it handy to show ID later. I placed the wallet in a little shelf under the dash and we drove on. When we arrived at the gate, I reached for his wallet and it was gone. We searched the car for months because neither of us could explain how it vanished. Neither of us left the car at any time. Between my placing the wallet on the shelf and arriving at the gate, it was also a rainy day and our windows were up. At first he was angry with me because it had vanished in my possession. But after having no explanation and no found wallet ever in the history of owning the car, we stopped mentioning it because it all seemed a little uncomfortable and weird. The strangest coincidence I've experienced was this. Again, when I lived in England, my husband purchased a brown canvas jacket for me from a little boutique. The brand was Motel and the size was XS. The jacket was also kind of expensive, so I never saw anyone else with one. I liked the jacket and wore it a lot, but after a while it was too tight across the chest, so I kept it in the closet and wore it less. This was in 2001. Since that time, I moved to Maryland, Pennsylvania, and several times within Philadelphia. I gave the jacket away at a clothing swap in 2005 when I was moving to Hawaii. A year after I moved to Hawaii, I moved back to Philly, and again, several times within Philly. Last August, I moved into a house in a neighborhood I've never lived in. 3 people live with me here, and one of them was here when I moved in. I knew none of the people that live here before I moved in. One day I came home to find a brown jacket on my housemate's rocking chair. A sense of uncanny creepiness fell over me. Was this my jacket from 9 years ago? In this new house? No one in the house wears an XS besides me. I'm 4'11". This jacket wouldn't fit them. Sure enough, the jacket is XS Motel. I try it on. It's too tight around the chest. The zipper is slightly broken at the bottom. It is absolutely my jacket, purchased for me 14 years ago in the UK, given away in 2005 to a stranger, and somehow it ends up in my new house in my living room. Turns out a friend of my housemate left it here a year before at a party, and that girl got it from a clothing swap half a city away 9 years ago. So strange. Also, I have a picture of myself wearing the coat that I keep in the pocket in case I tell the story. Next glitch. About a year or so ago, my brother bought his first PC. Though we're both the wrong side of 40, he had no interest in them until he started getting interested in genealogy. As I've worked with computers for years, I've sort of become his go-to guy when he screws up, which, as he's a new user, happens a lot. So, for the past 3 months or so, I've been at his place on average 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes for hours at a time. Obviously then, having spent so much time there, I could, if asked, describe his apartment layout from memory right down to the color and design of each room's decorations. A few evenings ago, whilst on one of those visits, we were sitting in the lounge talking about politics, and I happened to be complaining about the new bedroom tax under occupancy penalty. I mentioned the fact that as I have a spare bedroom, I have to pay an extra amount each week, and voiced the opinion that as he had 2 spare bedrooms, he would have to pay out a lot more than I. At this, he looked at me blankly and asked what I meant by him having 2 spare bedrooms. Thinking he was being too literal, I said, "I know you use 1 bedroom as a study, but that doesn't count under the rules and would still be considered as a second spare bedroom." He laughed a little uneasily and replied that, no, he had his own bedroom and the study, no other rooms. Being a little annoyed at his insistence that I was wrong, I actually stood up and went into the hall to look. This is where it gets really weird, as the room which I know was his bedroom and that I'd passed countless times was literally no longer there and was just a blank wall. Even weirder, the room that I specifically remember as a sort of junk storage room was now his bedroom, complete with the same wallpaper and TV on the wall, etc. Everything as I remember, but in mirror image. I know and would and swear up and down that there were 3 bedrooms in his place, and as I've visited countless times, I know it's not a false memory. And just a few months ago, I helped him move some boxes into that very same junk room. After returning to the lounge, I laughed it off and put it down to early onset Alzheimer's, but I was seriously spooked and left shortly after. Now, in the few short days since I'd been there last, it would have been impossible to knock a wall down, then board it up, and repaint, etc., especially for a man of his age. Not to mention that the apartments are leased. Nor is there wall space there. It's as if that whole end of the apartment has been shortened. All of this has seriously thrown me for a loop, as up to this point I'd always considered myself to be a rational, logical person. I don't have a great imagination and tend to be very skeptical about many weird events. Now I find myself deeply confused. I have come to two very different conclusions here. Either A, I'm going bananas, or B, there really is a parallel dimension and I've woke up in it. Next glitch. So I've stumbled upon this mind-boggling event I simply had to share with the community. Bear with me, this might be a long one, but I promise it's worth the read. So let me give you a bit of an introduction. Back in my college years, which feels like a century ago, but was really just about a decade, I had this quintessential accessory, a hat. Not just any hat, mind you, but this faded blue baseball cap that had BH stitched on it. The lore behind that cap? A sentimental hand-me-down from my elder bro. This cap was synonymous with my identity. It's been through all the highs and lows, and trust me, there were many. Fast forward to a vacation I recently took in Montreal, Canada. If you've ever been there, you know it's picturesque, especially with the glinting waters of the Saint Laurent River. So there I was, soaking in the view when Mother Nature decided to play a prank. A rogue gust of wind decided to part me with my dear hat, sending it on a voyage into the river. I was devastated. A kind local even commented, offering consolation in that gentle Canadian manner. But here's where things get truly wacky. Today, back at my boring New York workplace, I sluggishly walked into the break room for the sacred morning coffee. And what do my eyes behold? My cherished hat lying there waiting for me on one of the lunch tables. A co-worker chimed in, mentioning how he found it in our parking lot. Now, it's essential to note that this isn't a common hat. It has its unique wear and tear, some distinctive stitches, and a recent coffee stain. So, my dear forum members, I'm left scratching my head, which is once again shielded by my hat. How did my cap take a faster route from Canada to NY than me? Is it some interdimensional hat doppelganger? Did it hitch a faster ride? What did you think of this episode? I really enjoyed making it. I hope it was good for you too. Drop a comment if you want. Thanks, Glitch Connoisseur, and see you next time.